Howdy folks, Little John, and time for 5 on Friday. Wasn't completely sure I was going to get here. It's been a little bit of a crazy day, but anyway, here we are. So, a little help from Johnny Walker Double Black. We'll manage to get through some amount of information anyway. Right, so today I want to talk about no chilling or cube chilling. Depends how different people have different expressions for it, but basically, yeah, cooling your hot water in a drum, basically, as opposed to, using, immersion chillers or a plate chiller or whatnot, or, just chilling your water straight after you've done your boil. This was suggested probably by a couple of people actually that sort of said they wanted a bit of a yak about it. Now, I've never done a video, and I've tossed up doing videos on the actual process itself, but I've never sort of really got around to it. It's not something I do too often. I've done it in the past, I don't do it anymore, and that's for personal reasons. But that aside, let's talk about what it is, how you do it, why you do it. So basically what it is at the end of your boil, after you've done your hops and you get the end of the boil, you turn your heat off. Normally you stick your chiller in, or you run through a coil or a plate chiller. Use some process of cooling the water quickly so you can get down to pitching temp. Some brewers, for different reasons, that's just not practical. Sometimes just the cost of buying a chiller when they're first starting out is not really practical. A lot of brewers, water is an issue, particularly if you're running on tank water. Traditional immersion chiller or plate chiller can use quite a bit of water to get that cooling process done. So if you are just on tank water, then a lot of brewers will prefer not to use that method. Some brewers like to do it because they can brew a big batch or a double batch, or a large triple batch, or 2 or 3 different beers at the one time. Get them into a cube and sit them aside and ferment them later down the track. So it has its place, and it has advantages, obviously for those people who need to, and there's also disadvantages, and they are all things that you need to look at if it's a process that you choose to do. When you know chilling, due to the fact that you're going into a cube, you need to go into the cube boiling hot or close to boiling hot. You need to have the water above 82 degrees is the magic number where it will self-sanitize the cube. It's hot enough to kill the bugs that are in the cube. Obviously the cube needs to be clean, and you'd prefer to have it sanitized before you went into it, just to be safe. But if there are some little things in there, the heat will kill them. So transferring hot, is a necessity. So the problem is with that is that cube then stays hot for quite a long time, and as long as that temperature is above around the low 70s, you are still getting utilisation of your hops. The alpha acids are still being worked upon or summarised, and as a result they're creating bitterness in your wort. And this is the point where you start having a big difference from your normal brewing, and you have to start making allowances. Because you can't do your hop, obviously you cannot do your hop additions into your wort, into your boil, the same as you normally would. Normally you put a bittering addition at 60 minutes, it's in the boil for 60 minutes, you cool, and relatively quickly you're down below that 70 degrees. And even with a standard coil immersion chiller on a warm day, you're dropping down to below 70 degrees, in 5 or 6 minutes. So you're very quickly stopping that isomerization and the increase of IBUs from your hops. So you can lock the flavours in you want. When you go into the cube, because it's sitting there hot and it's continuing to build up, so you need to allow for that when you're putting your hops in. So the general consensus is that you push everything back 20 minutes. Now, that's great, but how can you push a 5-minute boil addition back 20 minutes? You can't push it. Anything below 20 minutes, anything under that 20 minutes, 15, 10, 2, flame out, you can't push them back 20 minutes. You haven't got it. So you can't get those flavours from those hops by going into the cube. You need to find different ways to get the same sort of effects. So what a lot of brewers do, and probably the most common way, is you put your bittering hops in at 40 minutes, even 30 minutes. So, as I said, you're dropping back that 20 minutes. And then when you get the flame out, you shut your flame out as per normal, but you stick your hops into the cube. They go in here, they get bunged in the cube with the hot wort put on top of them. And so the theory is that you're going to utilise those hops while that wort's still warm, which is true. It will. You're going to get some isomerisation. You get a very different isomerisation than you do from adding hops at 20 minutes or at 15 minutes or even at 10 minutes, because you're not boiling them. Boiling is different to steeping in hot water, and that hot water is constantly changing in temperature. It's dropping. So for a little while it's at 99 degrees, and then it's 98 and 97. I mean, it stays in those temperatures pretty quick for a reasonable time, but you're still not boiling. It's still not having the same reaction. So you're getting a different flavour and profile from those additions. And that's where I particularly don't like it, because I really like the flavour and the profile and the aroma that I get from the late hops, from the late boils. And you can't reproduce that same flavour, which is why I very quickly went back to chilling. Now, if you're happy, and plenty of brewers are, and that's what I say, the method works for people, you can start playing around, and you can find a happy place where you work out where you need to put those hops in. Now, a lot of the current trend of beer is to do, post-boil hops, whirlpool hops, dry hopping. So that sort of stuff all works when you're using a cube, because essentially you're doing a similar thing. Sticking all your cubes into the hop is very similar into a cube. It's very similar to doing a hop stand. But again, it is different, because the hop stand only goes for a certain amount of time, and that's generally done at 80 degrees. It's done for maybe 20 minutes, and bang, then you carry on your cool again. So you lock that in. So you still don't get that hop stand flavour from putting them into the cube. So if you're using the cube to cool, you need to play around and learn and experiment, and again, keep notes. Keep really good records of what you're doing, and tasting notes of your beers, so you can work out what works, what you like, what you don't like. Is all the hops into the cube the best thing? Do you need to put some in, in dry? And so that, and again, that's where a lot of guys are going. A lot of brewers, there's an amount into the cube, and they put in the cube, and then once they're into when they come to ferment, then there's a bit more playing around again. At that point, some brewers will do a small boil. They'll take some hops and a little bit of the wort, and they'll boil up 2 or 3 litres of wort, and they'll throw a little bit of hops in, and they'll boil it for 5 minutes, and add that back to the fermenter to try and get a little bit more of that late boil sort of effect. But again, you're not getting the same effect, because you're doing a reduced boil. You don't get the same effect as you do by boiling into a whole lot of wort. So again, you can do that, but you need to have the records really clear, so you know exactly what you're getting out of that, so you can adjust as you need to. And then a lot of guys go to the fermenter and they'll dry hop. And again, with the current method with the New England IPAs and late hop ales and pales and stuff, it's a very common thing to do, and a lot of guys are doing it, and they enjoy those flavours, and they and they're happy to get a lot of that. So I mean, if that is what you enjoy and you're happy to do that sort of thing, then it's going to work for you. But it's a very different game to the traditional methods that are thrown around. And there's a lot more advice out there, and there's a lot more people doing it, so it's easier to find out intricacies. Get onto a Facebook page or a forum, ask questions. Aussie Home Brewer, there's discussion all the time about how people are getting results from from cube hopping and doing dry hops and boils and stuff. So there's always people that can give you their experiences and their advice and tell you how they're doing things. But as I said, anything brewing, it's an individual, it's a unique process. You've got to make beer that you like, so you've got to find the way you like to do it. Use other people's advice and then tweak from there. As a general rule, I sort of say to people, if you can avoid it, don't do it. If you can chill. It's much more, for me, I find that it's much more controllable. You can get the result you want. If you want to do a hop stand, you can do a hop stand. If you want to do a late boil, you can do a late boil, and you can get exactly what you want. You can do multiple late additions, 10, 15, 10, 5 minutes, and get a different effect from each. If you play around, you can recreate different effects. Okay, so you're not going to make, and this is the bottom line, you cannot make the same beer no chilling as you make chilling. Never going to. It's never going to happen. You will get different beers. Okay, so it's a case of working out for the individual where are the beers that you want to be making and what process works to get that, and go with that. If chilling in the cube and doing it that way is getting you the beer that you like and you're happy with it, go for it. Right? But if pre-boil and all the rest is getting you what you want, then you need to go with that method. I'm not going to say one way is better, one way is not. It's an individual preference. I have a preferred method, everybody else is going to have a preferred method. So you find your method and go with it. That's all it is. If you have any comments on that, and I'm sure there's going to be people out there who have comment on it, stick them down the bottom. If you have any questions, stick them down the bottom. Always going to answer questions, always keen to have a bit of a discussion. If you haven't subscribed to the channel already, there's a little red button down there in the corner. Click on that, you'll find you'll get a notice to tell you that there's a new video up. And barring things going wrong, there's generally one up every Friday, at least a chat, and try to at least every other week get some sort of brewing going out. Today we've done an IPA, which is nearly finished. So that's me, Little John for the day. Cube chilling, no chilling, go for it, don't go for it, whichever you want. Until I see you again, and we're talking beer, we're drinking beer, or we're brewing beer, good brewing.